looks like, but I have it on a reel. I pulled in all the focus I could, so I'm not moving a lot, but it looks like I am. But the falcon came over here and landed a minute ago, and then he flew over there.
You got a zoom? And it's going to be 11 feet high under very specific dimensions. And it's 71 to 72 degrees. And it's made all of plastic, either plastic or styrofoam.
Like PVC type?
PVC, yeah, not, and it won't, watch your step.
Yeah, I feel it.
Every bit of it, no wood, no metal, just plastic. But what's so is about with the Russians, they studied some stuff because when the USSR went kaput back in what, 94, something like that, I don't know. And went kaput,
it became a different exchange over there on Wall Street.
And so they said, okay, let's have these scientists, let's just study pyramids. So for a bunch of years, they studied pyramids. And they found out some very interesting shit about shapes and what it creates, you know, just the shape, you know? And so they were building these pyramids that were 44 feet high. Then they went to like 70 feet high. Then they went to 144 feet high, all made of plastic.
And the purpose was?
Well, they discovered that what happens is that as you go up in these things, it creates like a vortex inside of energy. And when they have like the larger ones, like the one that's at least 70, it's like 22 meters. So it's about what, about 70 feet, somewhere in there. And that you could charge a battery at the top of these things. If you could get a battery suspended up near the top area of these pyramids, that the battery becomes charged. What a trip. And then they discovered that...
So was it, would the batteries just sit still, or would they be hardwired?
No.
They just sit still in this environment.
They get charged. And then they discovered that they could put things inside these pyramids, like for instance, water. Put water inside these things, and for I guess 5 days, something like that. Not very long. And then they would take that water and inject it into preemie babies that weren't expected to live. And they did it with, it was an experiment.
Like an intravenous type of?
Yeah, just saline water, you know, just the water. And that once you have a preemie baby that's like 2.5 to 3 months preemie, yeah, that's pretty rough. If you got a 5,
not a high survival rate.
No, very, very low actually, very, very low. They did an experiment with,
and this was all in Russia.
It was in Russia, and they had 5.
And you said 94?
Well, I don't know what year it was.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't know what year they did this experiment, but that was when USSR was, whenever that was.
Whenever the USSR was disseminating and turning into something.
Yeah, now it's just Russia, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's now this oligarchy thing, or whatever they go, you know. Anyway, bottom line is that you could put things inside these things. By the way, all those preemie babies, there was 10 of them in the experimentation. They all lived. They all grew up.
And was there data for their, like, at 10, 20, I mean, how, you know, was there further data of their health or anything? Well, I mean, after the fact that they lived.
I suspect there was. I don't know. I just remember that information about it. But what so is, there was a lot of different information. Like they would put blocks inside these things, and it would treat these blocks. Then they built a prison out of it, out of these blocks that was inside the pyramid. And it was like a model prison. It became a model prison. It, like all of the inmates became just
human beings.
Human beings.
And again, so there was batteries, water, bricks. This was 22 meters, which was 70 feet. It was built with plastics, you said, like a PVC model.
Yeah.
And all it was a basic vortex of energy being grounded somehow. And preemie babies lived because of the water that was infused. I want to make sure I heard everything correctly that you just stated.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
And there was something else about it too. The bigger one would create a harmonic field upwards to like 500 miles. So it would have a diameter of 500 miles outward, this harmonic field. So what they discovered is that you had better health if you lived in that range. You had better productivity. There was way less crime. I mean, all the statistics, because it became harmonious to do the right thing. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, wow. So why don't they put these things all over the world? Well, guess what? They are. They're fucking everywhere. They're literally everywhere. You know what? Arizona has been known as the land of 10,000 peaks. They're all over the
Peaks,
place.
P-E-A-K.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I saw snow on San Francisco peaks when I was coming in.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So, and there are. You go through the desert, you see these peaks, man.
I've been all over northern Arizona recently in ways that I had never experienced, which was 89A that goes through the North Rim, and wow, what a beautiful highway that one is.
And so these pyramids, when you put them in series, especially, they did this with an experiment. They did it with the shorter ones, the 22-meter ones. They put several of them in an oil field that had been, what was it? It wasn't producing. It was not producing. The oil was much harder to get out of this particular place. They put these pyramids in there, and within a short time, I don't know what the time was, but it was fairly short, they started producing 30% more oil. Out of the oil.
Again, I want to reel back for a moment because you said they are all over the world, and so
pyramids are, yes.
Yeah. So with that, I mean, ancient ones, current ones, new ones being built. Who is they? Who is there procurers of this idea? Because you said you save babies, you have charged batteries. You have infused a lot of ideas here, but then now the last story was about bringing oil. Okay, so when you look at all those paradox views, there is a lot of different ideas being applied. So the oil one caught my curiosity. So they were able to get the oil 30% up from basically bottom. It was bottoming out.
And the production went up.
So who put the pyramids there? Do you have that research?
These Russian scientists. The Russian scientists of the what they call it, their Cold War thing or whatever it was. When the USSR changed, their whole system changed. So all these guys, these scientists, didn't have anything to do, so they decided they would research pyramids. And so they started researching different shapes, the different shaped pyramids and what they can do. how they affect people. You can drink water from these pyramids, drink the water, you can cure any disease. They were doing it. They were actually curing diseases.
So, with all this knowledge, how can people find this knowledge? I mean, you know, to really provide some more further evidence for their own research.
There's probably plenty of information on Gaia about it. I've seen the videos on the pyramids that Michael David Wilcock had described about, and also then there's actually a documentary, and you probably get it on YouTube. We could look for it.
What would that, any semblance of a title?
They could say Russian scientist pyramids.
Russian scientist pyramids. I think that would probably be a key word for the search.
Yeah, it'd probably give you a plethora of information.
Yeah, that's fascinating stuff, Gary.
Oh, it is. It's totally fascinating. So I thought, well, I want to build one. So I thought, okay, what's the scale? So here's one. If you got one, it's 11 meters. Would that be about, what, 33 feet tall? Roughly 30. Well,
I don't know. I don't do meters.
I don't know.
I don't do liters. I don't do meters.
I gotta get in the sun.
I don't do metrics. Yeah, hey, you know, show me what you're doing out in the garden. Let's walk there. Show me the new...
oh, let's do that.
Yeah, let's go see that. Because when I arrived yesterday here, back in Clarkdale, Gary was out working as usual. And I got to show you what he's up to, because it's pretty cool. This is a beautiful place, and Gary has participated in its evolution for years.
This is the first area that got started 10 years ago. Yeah, it's evolved. It's evolved.
Tell us all the things that you've grown in here. Now, and let's give Melanie credit where credit's due. She built these rock beds, is that correct?
Well, she originally built this bed, which since then is transformed at least 3 times, and it's going to get transformed again. This winter, I'm going to remodel it. This whole side, and it's starting to get some stuff happening. Rocks falling off. Hey, it's just mud.
Hey, they've been doing it in the desert forever, right?
So yeah. So I'm going to modify it. There's a big. The whole distance underneath there's a big railroad tie. It runs that whole distance.
One continual length without repeats?
No, it's pieces.
Several, yeah, okay.
I used it as a barrier because this all got really wild. This was all originally just a rock bed that got stacked up. So it didn't have much soil in it.
Well, it's one thing you can find easily is rocks. When it comes to dirt in the desert, dirt is the real high premium. Rocks are easy.
The goal was to modify it and get it so that I could make deep beds, really deep beds. These beds are all of them are 3 feet deep. So they go deep. But digging in this ground is a chore at times.
Yeah. Well, let's go show them what you're doing right now, the staircase.
Yeah. It's getting the sun. It's cold out here.
Well, I woke up in my car at 34. 34 degrees this morning, but...
There's some artichokes they're done producing, but
will they sustain?
Oh yeah, I mean they'll die back,
Right, but then they'll just recreate.
Yeah. They come back, and those are leeks. They're gonna winter over, and then I'm gonna transplant them and put them in different places.
So there's gonna be a leak in the leeks.
This is leek, and I dedicated this area to my mom. It was because
And you took care of your mom. You did.
Yeah.
Before she moved on.
Yeah, it was.
And that was just what, about a year, maybe? How long's that been?
Well, it was March last year when she died. Yeah, and summer solstice is when of last year, so just a few months later. So that was the biggest bed. That became the biggest bed, or the biggest one over there. That one's all rock. The whole thing. It took me 2 years to build that thing. It was a lot of work.
Well, as we were discussing earlier of when we first met on the ranch, the Peacock Ranch, 3 years I spent there moving a lot of rock, and Gary knows that. Gary and I worked together. We actually pulled out John Jr., our little John Deere tractor, and attempted, and how many, oh shit, we must have sifted out several tons of rock out of that soil.
Oh, wow.
It was crazy.
That's
We built a huge sifter. I mean, it was huge. It had to be 4x8 or something. It was huge with some kind of wire mesh in it, and we put it over what I was digging up and putting on the side. We'd shovel it up and we'd put it on the sifter, and then we would shuffle it, and then we'd pile the rock. I'd move the rock. I mean, it was
It's always about moving
relentless.
shit around.
It was relentless for tomatoes.
It's always about moving shit around. So this pile right here started, it goes all the way back up there, way up there. It's about 60 feet or so. Big pile of rock. All this rock came out of all of the beds that were created in the garden. They came out of the ground. But the whole idea was to salvage the soil because it's this really good dirt. Just it's all locked up with all the rocks and everything.
Well, when we were at Madeline's there over in Quail Hollow, we were using jackhammers to just dig fence post holes.
At least I'm able to get down, you know, I can get down, and that's the whole goal, is to get down. But this is kind of like a multi-project over here. When I realized that, you know, I really wanted to get the garden to be more productive, and to do that, I needed to have combinations of areas. Like, for instance, the upper garden now gets the most shade. But it gets plenty of sun during the summer growing season. It gets plenty of sun. This one gets more sun, but still some shade. But it will probably have more sun the longer than that upper port. This one, of course, will have.
Now you're building mulch units over here, right? You're creating compost mulch units.
Yeah.
And making compost dirt, right? I mean, that's what these backside piles are.
Yeah, all this is right. No, this here.
Well, like these over here behind where you're building your new rock steps.
Oh yeah, it's like a combination of things. Yep, digging out the rock, getting the soil, throwing it into this pile, essentially, and throwing some straw in it. Attracts the worms. You know, it does. But it's good soil. But I gotta sift through all that. I gotta do the sifting thing. That's fun work, sifting.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then take all the rock, figure I want to use all the stuff that comes out of the ground. So I'll use the rock in the walkway, which I really like. I like this idea.
No, it's really looking good. I'm gonna walk through. And I'm going to show some of this. This is where I found Gary yesterday, stabilizing rocks in the walkway. And there's so much enterprise going on here. Yeah, I mean, this is it's just a magnificent property.
Yeah, it's a multi-thing. And it's extremely satisfying. You know, it's really hard work at times. At times it's really hard work. What can I tell you?
Yeah.
But
it's gratifying.
It's gratifying.
You see results every day.
Yeah, I like that. Sometimes I get really carried away.
Yeah. Well, you get I mean, because I know this one, and I had to stop because of my body. you know, I realized that I wasn't respecting my body as much as I really was. It would be my highest good to respect my body more than to keep pushing it the way I did. So I so appreciate what you're doing, and you're still doing it. And it looks great. And at this point, I'm going to vicariously live through you.
All right. But what's interesting about these piles, it amazes me how much dirt I can actually get out of just going down a few inches, because all this dirt down here, there used to be a bunch of mesquite trees in here, like scrub trees. There was about 3 of them that were much taller, so they were good size. So they've been there probably 50 years or more, and the other one's probably 20 years. And then, you know, every year they shed all their stuff, and it comes back, season back and forth, you know, and it would just, all that rock in there, just capture it, and then it would get compacted with all the rock and the weight and the mud and the rain and crap. So the dirt, it's good soil, and it's like concrete with that rock. Literally, but when you get it wet, wow, it loosens up. You can get to it, you know, you can break it up.
Yeah, well, you remember when I was doing all that work on the ranch, I had to soak it for days.
Yeah.
To even budge it. I mean, even with the tractor, it wouldn't budge unless it was soaked. It wouldn't. Yeah. It wouldn't even move. Even with the shovel on the tractor, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. It'd hit the ground and go, "You want me to do what?
You want me to do what?" So I throw that damn rod around into the ground, and that works pretty well. But what's interesting is it's not that much rock. It's like, I say it's like about, perhaps it's like 70, maybe 65, 70% rock. And it's mostly smaller stuff. So the smaller stuff like that.
Right, what you're building your walkways with.
Yeah, but then there's a bunch of this size, and then there's a bunch of those big guys.
Well, you remember how some of those, you remember when I was digging the pond behind the fifth wheel?
Yeah.
And that gigantic rock that was there.
Right.
And I came up with a goat in a casket.
God.
Yeah, I did. I came up with a goat in a casket.
Now this is my holding its place. I saw this.
Yeah, tell us about the this pipe.
Yeah, this is an interesting thing here. So I like to be innovative if I can about water, because if to put into I'd like to put in trees, but it's nearly impossible to do that on your, you know, to pay for the water and do that. Wow, it costs prohibitive. So I thought, okay, how can we can't dig a well. So that's out of the picture. So how do we do it? Well, there's more than one way to do it. You can do a process of evaporation. You can just have a channel that goes from the above ground to goes down under the ground about 6 feet. In that channel, and this is basically a channel, right? Right now it's just holding the spot. This is not.
Right, you haven't dug this, but you're creating the imagination to create it.
And it's going to look something like that.
Yeah.
And it'll look, it won't be quite as big. And it'll be about this high above the ground. And it'll go 6 feet down. And the mechanism will...
so with that, you're talking evaporation, but probably condensation as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the condensation thing. Yeah, evaporation is not the right word for it. Condensation, right?
Well, that's why I thought I would.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, do you know the difference between a myth and an allegory?
What? What is that? At any rate, these suckers will produce 10 to 11 gallons of water a day.
Just in condensation.
Just in condensation. I said, really? Now there'll be like a fan in there that will operate probably off of solar. It could probably run off of solar or whatever. I'll figure out something. Or it could just be set up to where it's like kind of like you could have like a turbine on top of it, and that would just operate off the air. That's, you know, if it's vertical, you can get them to spin just on like a couple of mile-an-hour wind, and we get that here all the time.
Yeah. And here is here.
Here is here.
Mingus Mountain's behind us.
That's right. You know what the slang definition is of Mingus Mountain?
I don't.
Oh, you gotta go look it up. It's fucking awesome.
Oh, just go ahead and tell us.
Let's hear it.
What it was what do you call it? The urban slang. Urban slang. You gotta get the full image though. You gotta get the full image. You gotta go over here to see it, so you can see it. Oh yeah, you can see it. Oh yeah. All right. It is known as the big fat juicy pussy lips.
The big fat juicy pussy
Lips. Oh man, and look at and look at the chemtrail work right now. I mean, you know, with the Vectras, you know, the V shit.
Yeah. See, it's like the big fat juicy pussy lips.
It's just hilarious. You know, the urban legend. Oh God, you know.
Urban language or whatever it's called.
Yeah. The slang.
The slang.
The urban slang.
Urban slang.
Good Lord. So Gary, this has been awesome.
Right.
You've taken us on a journey that
I know people are gonna go.
I want to know fucking Gary, man. Gary's far up.
And this thing here, this is like it evolved because I got tired of having to dig the compost over this 3-foot rail. It was like, it's a pain in the butt.
Yeah. Well, if you don't become more efficient in your work is working you, and you're not working your work.
That's right. So this evolved.
Yeah.
It's one of those gadgets, one of those things. You know, it's like I looked at different models of compost bins. I didn't like that they were so low. I said, you know, I want mine to be higher, and make it so that I could enclose parts of it.
Yeah, it's a nice structure. A lot of 2x6.
Yeah, well, it was all scrap
brick.
wood. It was all scrap wood.
Yeah, and
Except for
last time I was here, actually, you were building the brick base.
Yeah, and this board here is the first new board right there. So it's like, okay, a place for the first new board.
New board.
New board.
We're gonna open a vine, I was walking around Old Town, and man, has it changed. Last night, I just went for a walk down there, and all the wineries, all the tasting rooms, I was thinking, wow, all of a sudden Arizona is like the major wine state, and they're growing wine vineyards all over the place, and tasting rooms are everywhere in Cottonwood.
Yeah, matter of fact,
and breweries.
There's a lot of, you know, there was, you know, when we were living over there, you can see all the, but it's even gotten more. There's back in there.
No, I was really actually amazed and impressed.
Here, right? You saw they have 10 acres right over here, right now. You just walk up there, you can see it. It's right there. Grapevines, 10 acres of it.
Wow.
From the university.
Wow.
Right there. Matter of fact, the university now, you can learn how to from beginning to end.
They got courses.
They got courses.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Gary, I'm going to wrap this one up.
Okay.
But thank you so much.
All right.
Now, just for our, loving viewing audience.
Yeah.
Go ahead and tell them who you are. Give us your name.
My name is Gary, and I've been known as, I like to be called G.
G.
Yeah. And
do you ever get it, prefaced with golly?
Anyway, because when I sign off on my email stuff, and I just put G. Yeah, so it's simple, quick, no fuss.
And if anybody wants to find you, they're not going to, are they?
You're funny.
You know, because I'm a homeboy and I call his phone and he doesn't answer it and he doesn't even respond to messages. So, you know, good luck on that.
Matter of fact, my phone was dead this morning. He's like, oh, fuck, I can't even call, so I had to charge just before. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those old phones. But what's interesting, I got it for free, so free is good.
Yeah. Can't beat free for a price. Although, you know, yeah, if you want a good story, you're going to pay a higher token.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, you know, Gary, I love you so dearly, bro.
I love you too.
Yeah, man. This has been a real privilege. Gary and I have done some hanging out in our lives, and this is just, we're on a roll.
We're on a roll, man.
On a roll.
Oh, and wait, before I sign off, I got to tell you one more thing about this thing.
All right.
Look at it. Take a good, the doors, that fence.
Okay, these cabinets kind of in the
Yeah,
fence.
the doors.
Okay,
The
yeah. Okay.
Okay, this evolved. Okay, it was interesting. The rock wall got built. It took 2 years to build this whole rock thing around this thing. But the posts, there's like really rocky soil along this area right in here. And I couldn't get down 6 inches. I was like, okay, how about if I just build the wall and the bed around the post? And it worked. And it worked. And I was like, oh, okay. Because see, it doesn't go down in the ground. It's just down here at the bottom of way down there. And I was like, oh, that'll work. And they got kind of thing, you know, kind of crooked. I didn't care about that. They're solid, not going anywhere. What's funny was that these weren't here. None of this, all this wood was not even here. And she said, you know what? It didn't work to not be able to get to the bed from this, so you need to put some doors in. I said, okay.
So now we have door number 1, door number 2. And door number 3. And we also, for you in the listening audience, have what's in this little bucket right here. So what are you going to choose? Come on down.
You can get the tree. You can get the
clip tree.
Clip tree.
And but no, I want what's in that little bag. What's in the little bag?
It could be this thing here, you know. It's an artifact. It's an artifact.
Well, I'm here to tell you with great pleasure that what's in that bag is the biggest prize you're ever going to get. Wait, what's in the bag?
What's in the bag?
Well, this is nothing but a bag of shit. Yes, but it's really great shit, Mrs. Presky, and it's all yours.
A bag of shit.
And with that, we're signing out.
Adios.
Thank you, Gary.
You're welcome.